Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook. Sign up now for a $20 free bet. Just use the code IFLTV24. Sign up now. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Oscar Bevis for IFL TV. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Charlie Edwards, my man. So good to see you. Happy New Year. How are we feeling just a few days into 2024?
Happy New Year to you too and everyone else out there. I'm feeling good, I'm going into 2024 in a very positive position. Ranked top 15 with the WBC at bantamweight. I'm currently a free agent all round the board. I've currently also got my own manager's license, so I'm managing myself now. And I've got some very interesting conversations due to be had over the next few weeks with different people. So 2024 for me, I think it's my year. I think I'll be back. I'm looking to jump into proper fights only. No messing around. Don't want to fight no journeyman, no stupid, pointless fights. I want to get straight in, dive in the deep end. I've been putting a lot of work in behind the scenes, as I always have done. Like, people think I've been retired, but I haven't. I've been grafting my arse off day in, day out in the gym. And I've recently teamed up with my new coach, Stephen Smith. So going into 2024, I'm in a very, very positive mindset, and I'm looking forward to a big year.
Yeah, well, we've got loads to talk about regarding yourself and 2024 and the hit list, as some would have seen. But because of the recency, I just want to start with Sonny's defeat a couple of weeks ago in Arizona to Bam. Just your reflection on the fight, Charlie.
It was heartbreaking to see. I was front row, in a very Mexican American dominated arena as the away fighter. It was horrible to see. It really hit home. I understand how it feels because I've walked the path before and been in the position that Sonny's in now. I feel like he was unlucky to get his vision blurred from the second round. He didn't get into his flow and his rhythm, which I would have liked to see him do with his footwork and his movement, which everyone knows Sonny's great at. So yeah, it weren't the best of performances. He showed a lot of heart and a lot of warrior grit inside of him, which is the bonus, because everyone always asks that question on Sonny and always says that he run, and he stood there and stood in the pocket and fought. Was it the right fight to fight? In my opinion, no. But with his eye injury, he's saying that that's all he could do because he couldn't gauge his distance properly. So you've got to give him props for what he done, and like the dark demons rounds that he had to battle through with blurred vision. So yeah, it was unfortunate. It was heartbreaking for the family. Sonny was really it hit him. I could tell, even though he says he's all right and everything. I can tell that my brother's a very competitive fighter, as you all know, all competitive in anything he does. So I know it's hurt him, but he's fighting one of the best pound for pound. So he's mixing it with the top of the top, and he'll only gain experience from this fight. I think he'll reassess a few things, and going forward, he will have learned a lot. You learn the most from your losses than you ever do from keep winning. You have to answer some real questions to yourself. So I think he'll sort himself out, brush himself down, and then go again in 2024. He maybe go down to light flyweight to get a 2-weight world title, or he may just sit around, because I think Bam's going up to the super flyweight limit, and the titles will become vacant again. And after that fight, and being so highly respected by the IBF, he'll probably not be far off another world title shot. So yeah, it's boxing, and it's elite boxing, and it's what happens when you're mixing it at the top. And he should just be proud of himself, and I know he is, that he took that risk.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, one thing a lot of fighters can learn from him is how to chase and make a fight, because it was brilliant, the build up and the way he chased that unification. There are a few fighters who could perhaps learn a thing or two from that.
Yeah.
Just one thing on the experience. Obviously, you were over there. We saw you in the dressing room around the fight week. We saw you chatting to Eddie as well at the fight day 5K. Outside of the performance and the fight, how was kind of the week as a whole for you in Arizona?
The week was great. It was my first time in America, so it's nice to experience it and go out there before my career actually takes me out there. It was good to be around the Matchroom team as always. I've always had a good relationship with them. Had some great conversations with Frank Smith and passing conversations with Eddie Hearn. So yeah, it was a great week. Like I said, I was a Matchroom fighter, and there's no awkwardness between us, and we have a good relationship still. So yeah, it was interesting. It was a good work week for me as well because of the media. Doing the brother versus brother podcast sort of thing with David Diamante was a good little experience. And I met Joshua Franco, and although he's retired now, I think he's M&R and whether he'll come back. And yeah, like it will be a fight maybe potentially in the future if that ever does happen. And it was good to meet him. You know, we've got a lot of respect for each other. We both watched each other for many of years. So yeah, it was a good week for me. Very good week.
Well, 2024, let's hope it's two-time for Sonny and obviously for yourself as well.
Yeah,
Right, let's talk about.
I keep saying to him, I said 2024 is the year we both hold world titles at the same time.
Yeah, mate. Fingers crossed.
Well,
I'll tell you what. If you're going to hold this world title, obviously there's going to be some wicked fights on the way. Let's talk about a couple of them. But before we do names, have you got anything penciled or nearly penciled in?
I haven't got anything nearly penciled in. However, I have come into 2024, as everyone knows, towards the back end of the years, once them shows are done, it's a bit of a boxing break anyway, and then the new year starts, and then the conversations start heading. So I've got a few conversations lined up with a few different people, and yeah, and I'm looking to get back as soon as possible. You know, like I say, I keep myself fit all year round. I only need 6 weeks to jump into a 10-12 rounder. Like I'm just get sparring and I'm good to go. You know, I'm never overweight. I'm never far off it. I'm ultra professional. So I think once I've had these few conversations, I'm heading back to Liverpool, where I'll be basing myself with Stephen Smith and going into the Rotunda gym. So I join them in the next 10 days. I think I go out there on the 14th of January. So I'll settle there, get in the gym, and yeah, it'll be positive, everything positive. You know, while I'm back up. There's a boxer show as well, which I'll go along to and have a few conversations. So it's like I've got a lot of opportunity out there, and listen, I think a lot of promoters, they need British fighters who are going to take proper fights nowadays. Too many people are playing at it, and it's not looking good for British boxing. So I think the promoters are going to be harder this year, which then fits into my narrative of making these proper fights. I've got my name, I've got my brand, you know, like a former undefeated WBC world champion, moving up to bantamweight, which I've been at now for a few years, just because I've been quiet. I've been developing and performing at bantamweight for a few years now, and ready to explode onto the world scene again. And I'm fresh as well. I've not been worn down by hard warred fights. You know what I mean? Coming to the peak years of my career, and my experience is growing and growing every single day. So yeah, I think I fit it very well, and I think the next few weeks I will have something penciled in. I do.
Yeah. Well, I want to start by talking about, when I say mentioning names, about Paul Butler, obviously an ex-gym mate of yours. And I don't want to be a shit stirrer, but someone, to me anyway, it sounded like you kind of didn't particularly rate. Am I fair to say that?
Listen. No, do you know what? Yeah, I've got respect for Paul. Like, we've always been on a level, of like talking respectful to one another for many of years. But like, this is boxing, man. Like, there's no friends in the industry. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially at your weight division. I rate him as a fighter, but I've got his number, and I'm confident in saying that. I would say he's never took a round off me. Ever took a round off me.
You haven't done, I mean, and from what you were saying, you didn't even get the chance to do many rounds, which I find baffling. You didn't spar during your time together.
This is what is so a madness of it, yeah. Because like, when you think I went to that gym, in my head I'm like, yeah, that gym's going to be great. I'm going to have world-class sparring in house. We're going to mix it amongst each other, and then we're have loads of other sparring in I only sparred him in the whole of 2 years when I was there wasting my time, 4 or 5 times max. Like I was too much for him. Like and then we was only doing 4 rounders, and I was like taking him to school, like, and that's not. I'm not saying it in a disrespectful way. I'm just saying it how it is. And I'm not sure if my old coach, Joe Gallagher, didn't think it was the right thing to do, because I was getting better of him too much, and yeah, it would have knocked his confidence going into big fights. But you would think it when he was going along to fight Casemiro, going to fight Inoue, you'd think I'd be one of the main sparring partners. I operate at a very high level. I'm very sharp, very fit, and I'm getting very strong now. But it just never happened. And the sparring partners that come in was always ones that like he was very comfortable with. So it was like, I don't know if for him as a fighter that my old coach wanted to let him get confidence going into these big fights. I don't think it is Paul as much, because he's a fighting man, and like he fights anyone. He fight Casemiro, fight a new way. So I know he's a proper fighting man. So I'm not sure if it's him. I'm not sure if it's Joe was protecting him at the time, but now like I'm away from them, like it makes perfect sense. Like I'm 15, he's number 7 with the WBC. He's just fought 2 fights against like tin cans and knocked him out, and they're trying to say like we're going on to win another world title, but they're conning the public and conning everyone by just racking up wins against people that really the boxing board shouldn't even allow him to fight. Or just fought a new way, and now going to fight someone called the Batley Bulldog with 2 wins and like 26 losses. Like, and then you're going to just try and hold out your little world ranking just to either get a payday or something. It's like, come on, why don't the two British fighters that will obviously get a good payday fighting each other? There's needle there. There's a big storyline behind it. It would make perfect sense for us to fight. It could be a pre-world title eliminator, or it could be a world title. Who knows? Like how it can be if the right promoter picks it up. I'm also actually waiting on a call from Paul's promoter, because obviously I manage myself now, and I know he really wants to make the fight. So the only reason why the fight will not happen is I don't even believe it's Paul, because I believe he would fight me because he knows it's a good fight, and he knows the British public will get behind it, be a good build up, it'll be everything. But I think the problem is Joe don't allow his fighters to fight for his own ego, sort of thing, you know. And it's pathetic. Like, so you'd have to ask the question directly, or a media channel would have to ask the question directly to Joe Gallagher and say, would you be up to making the fight? Because all he does is ignore messages if it don't fit his narrative. And he will probably tell the media people, don't mention Charlie Edwards before even accepting a fucking interview, which is so embarrassing, because I know he does that. Like, and I just want to be in big fights, you know. Paul's number 1 in Britain, yeah. He's number 7 in the WBC, yeah. I'm number 15 in the WBC. It makes sense, you know. It's a good fight that that people would be interested in. 2 former world champions, Paul being a 2-time world champion, going for his 3rd time, and me already being a world champion. So for this fight not to happen, it's ludicrous, and it's bad for British boxing. We already had one, Cal Yafai, who absolutely made a joke of himself.
Mate, that was going to be my next point. I can see that like there must be an angle of frustration from your side that you lost out on the potential of either a massive, like a world title fight one day, or a headliner with Cal Yafai, who's now retired, and the potential of another one could slip away.
Yeah, and it's embarrassing. But what does that go to show? Not confident fighters. If you was really confident in beating me, you'd fight me. And why wouldn't he fight me now? Like, I'm coming off inactivity. Like, everyone will be looking like, oh, he ain't even been serious about boxing. Inactivity. But the only reason why it won't happen is because Joe knows what I do to him, and Joe wouldn't want to put his ego and reputation on the line when I went in, if I go in there and do a number on him.
Yeah. I mean, I know we want to talk about the future, but because you mentioned Cal Yafai, I just kind of want to brush over that quickly. Are you disappointed at the retirement simply because it's a fight we never got to see?
I'm disappointed in his retirement. I wish him all the well in life, you know what I mean? But if we're talking boxing, I'm disappointed in him. But I'm not naive to know exactly why, because I would have knocked him out. And I'm saying that right now. I would have put Cal to sleep, and it would have been very much more embarrassing fighting me and getting put to sleep and all the British public seeing it than Cal Yafai going off there and no one even cares anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, it's not brought no media attention. To me, it looked like he knew he was retiring because he had it all put in his fight kit before he fought. So, what kind of fighter goes in to a ring and we're not even wanting to be there? One that gets knocked out in the first round, and we see that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, that's been and gone. So fingers crossed that the Paul Butler fight isn't a domestic fight that slips through the net, because mate, domestic fights are just what we
And
want.
Britain need it right now
Mate,
because
we do.
the shows are dying. Like bums on seats, like people in attendance isn't the same as it used to be. And the only way it's going to be like that is if you're a British fighter who loves boxing, who's passionate about the sport, who dedicates their life and craft to it, give the British fans what they want. Do you know what I mean? Because they deserve that, and you should be doing that, because at the end of the day, if you stop doing it, boxing's going to die, and it's not good. And we need British boxing to boom. And the only way we're going to do that is two British rivals fighting one another, and especially when two are former world champions. That's the creme de la creme. People want to see that.
Yeah. Well, in terms of when we're talking about fighters perhaps not wanting to fight, if we go kind of broader to the world scene, and the fighters that you want, do you feel like you're going to have to go down a route where people are going to be forced to fight you? Because I don't think personally you're going to kind of get the chance to get a voluntary off any of the guys.
I got the voluntary off number one in the division, Rosales, at the time, who was off a free knockout streak. Do you know what I mean? Banging everyone out. And I got gifted that, and I upset the apple cart. So, like, history repeats itself, you know. I think it's pretty clear people can see that I am always training. I'm always in the gym. I'm always developing, and I'm just getting better and better.
Isn't that a reason for them not to give you the voluntary?
I'm like a fine bottle of wine. Get better with age, and I don't think I will get a voluntary, if I'm honest with you. And it's I'm not going to sit here and sulk about it. Do you know what I mean? I just want proper fights. You know, like, I want to be a part of big events, big nights, big time boxing, and be in arenas and putting on a show for everyone. Like, will I get a voluntary? Probably not, unless a promoter comes on in the next few weeks and they can position it in a financial position where it makes sense for someone to actually fight me. But I'm a very high risk. But you'd think people who are trying to become world champion again would want to fight, but it's just that's a problem with boxing, where it becomes a business, and it's not very fair for boxing fans who want to see proper fights. And the only way to get to the top is to have proper fights. The ones who dodge dive all the way to the top, they always get found out. So it's annoying, but I believe 2024 my time's back.
Yeah. In terms of names, I know there's loads of guys that you mentioned in your video you put on YouTube. What other guys are kind of on your radar? I guess it's going to be the main guys, the top guys.
Yeah, of course. Like I want the main guys and I want the top guys. That's the end goal. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's Takam Inue's brother, Takam Inoue, WBA route. I would love to fight him. Maybe I'd have to go through Rodriguez, who just knocks Cal out in a round, which I would. I've actually asked about. I asked Matchroom about that, if they've got fight opportunities on him, and I'm not sure if the WBA has actually pushed him towards a world title eliminator. But I was prepared to just jump straight in there with someone who just knocked out Cal Yafai around, because I believe I'll beat him, you know, and I know what I'm operating at. And it would put that one to bed as well, that I'm better than Cal, and that's why he never fought me. But it's just anyone and anyone. Do you know what I mean? Everyone and anyone. Like, I'm easy to make fights with. I manage myself. I'm at the end of a phone, like, and I'm ready to go. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I want to fight Maloney. I've been wanting to fight him for a very long time.
That's my favourite fight out of a domestic fight. Maloney. That's such a sick fight. It's a wicked
Such a
fight.
sick fight. And you know what? It's two English speaking
Yeah.
natives. Do you know what I mean? So that can call for a massive fight. Like we can build that in a very good way. There's obviously Santiago. He's a Mexican American, so I think he'll be English speaking. I'm not 100% sure. Which is another big fight. Who just beat John Air. And yeah, so they're the three world champions. The IBF is actually vacant at the minute, and I'm not sure who's fighting for that. But they'll be on my radar as well. I just need like I said, I'm closest to probably Santiago because I'm ranked 15. Paul Butler's a step on the journey that I believe and that makes the most perfect sense for him and me. The only one it don't make sense for is Joe Gallagher. Yeah. And that would put us further up, whether it would be a world title eliminator or whether it would be like one before a world title eliminator. It puts us in a position to go on and fight Santiago, whoever the world champion is at the time of how long that takes, you know. WBO, I need to try and get a world ranking back with them. I was ranked number, I was actually ranked last year. I was actually, about a year ago, I was ranked like number 2 with the WBO. But because of my inactivity, and all the crap and bollocks that I believe I got put through, which kept me out of the ring, now I'm not ranked with them. So that was kind of like when the new wave vacated the belts, it was looking like it was going to be me and Maloney. But making the worst decision I ever made in my life of being managed by someone that I believe didn't manage me right, in my honest opinion, I've slipped through the net, you know. But with these mistakes, you learn lessons and you're more experienced for it. So try and get my WBO world ranking back, and then I said the IBS vacant. So I just need to make moves now, you know. Like I said, I've got very good conversations to be had, but I want big fights, you know. And I will travel to fight as well. Like being a free agent gives me that opportunity to. I have got a name, and I bring eyes every time I fight. So if I'm in a proper fight, people are gonna watch. So like I'm not really fussy, man. I just wanna fight. That's at bantamweight, and I don't know, like say if they say like I've seen Estrada, he's just moved up a weight to bantamweight, isn't he? So maybe he'd want to fight me in his first fight in bantamweight. Who knows? I don't know who he's planning on going down. And then if there is like who's the one there's an interim world champion, and why does his name slip my head? You know the one Bam knocked out from Mexico, Casidas, is it? You know, Kudras.
Yeah, that's it.
He's down.
Kudras, yeah.
Kudras, he's down at at super flyweight, an interim WBC world champion. Do you know what I mean? If Estrada moves up and they need someone to fight for the title and he vacates, I would jump down to super flyweight just for one fight. And I've told Frank Smith, because I'm not sure if he had like options on him or if he worked with their management, that I'll fight him straight away for the WBC, a former undefeated flyweight champion. Fight him, you know. That's what I would do that if that come up, you know. So I believe there's going to be many opportunities for me this year, but it's just like sitting at the moment, and it's just like making it happen, you know. And that's what I'm doing, making it happen. So in the next few weeks, I do believe I'll have good conversations, and I do believe I will be have a fight. So we'll make it happen. I'm easy. I want to fight everyone. I've always wanted to fight everyone. I've always mixed it and never said no to a fight. So it's yeah, well, the door's going to open, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, that's how it should be. Anyone can get it season. First week of January, right? So right now, when do you want something set in stone by? When is your like personal deadline? Have you got one in your head, like a time where
I wanted it set in stone yesterday.
Like,
Oscar, I wanted it to be in deadline yesterday. I wanted it to be set in stone 3 weeks ago. Before.
But when do we hit panic stations? When do we hit panic? When do you go?
Mate, do you know what I've learned? Do you know what I've learned from these last 2 years of my inactivity from the ring? Yeah, is control what you can control right now. Right, I'm managing myself now, so I can control conversations and I can control the things that happen, which is put me in a very good light. I don't know if you're aware, like I boomed back on the scene from the last probably 4 months, and that's since I've been managing myself because I am promoting myself now and pushing my own career. I'm having great conversations. I'm being at boxing more. I'm being at having conversations because people actually want to work with me now. So I want to be in big fights. So these last 4 months, I'm back on the scene. I'm back in interviews again. Like I'm back around boxing, and people are buzzing about me, asking me when I'm fighting. I've made my own YouTube channel. I've called out people, which is something I've never done before. But I realised that's what you have to do now in this modern day media and in the sport of boxing to actually create narratives and build up hype and build a storyline behind things. So yeah, I'm not gonna get in panic stations. These last 2 years, when I weren't in control, I was in panic stations. And all I learned to do was control the controllables, and that was waking up every day, trying to be as positive as I can, and getting my work done, being consistent, and being aware that what I'm doing now is going to pay me back in tenfolds when my door gets opened. And timing is everything. I've been there before, but all this hard shit that I've had to go through and endow, I believe it's been a kind of like a godsend mission to me to toughen me up and to make me the person I need to be for when my time comes to deliver. Because I've asked for big things and I dream big, and that's what I've had to go through. So I'm not going to hit panic stations. I know how I'm performing. I know that my activity is not inactivity because I've been flying around sparring. I've been training like a madman. Like I'm fitter than most fighters now than they probably do than they go into fights on. Like so, I'm good as gold, and I'm not going to panic. I've got full belief and trust in the universe that something is going to come my way over these next few weeks. And listen, what's another month after being inactive for all this time and being fucked about with, you know? So 2024 is the start of a fresh year, and I'm in probably the best position I've ever been in my boxing career, being a former undefeated world champion, you know.
Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook. Sign up now for a $20 free bet. Just use the code IFLTV24. Sign up now. Terms and conditions apply.